advice for professionals co-producing research with young people. It's important to always communicate clearly and regularly. We used to communicate with Triumph via email, which was good, but then we changed it to WhatsApp, which is a bit more informal. But as a result, YAG members sort of stay more in the loop with what we ever were doing with Triumph, as they check it more often than they would an email. That also ties into being able to listen and be willing to learn and change your mind, as WhatsApp was a suggestion from YAG members directly. Be honest with challenges and limitations within limits of research. So, for example, Triumph was really open from the very beginning about how the pandemic would affect our workflow, how it was going to mean that we'd have to cancel our upcoming residential, and they were also really open with what we could and couldn't do with Triumph's research budget in the work following that. Also challenge people and prepare to be challenged. So young people may have vastly different views or opinions that might sometimes be better. They might not, but that's the whole point of co-production, and so it's important to always be open. Throw your set working patterns out the window. So that could be the time you meet, the language or register that you use, the ways that you work. Just be prepared to be creative and adaptable. We've tried new ways of working online, such as we've created our own online platform, and we use social media more.
As long as kind of the relationship is communicated accurately and fairly, and that conversation can happen, and a young person could say, actually, I'm not happy with how you're treating this, the way that you're approaching us as young people.
The way that you communicate is really important. Making sure that it's always in a way that young people can understand.
It's a funny thing to talk about. We're all a bit British about it, a little bit. I won't tell anyone about money. I won't talk about money. But obviously, it's a huge incentive. But also, I think it has an effect outside of just getting people into meetings. But also, it feels like our time and our contributions are actually being valued in a really tangible way.
I think it's quite important in research design to kind of have a separation between who needs to be on your advisory group and whose voices you want to hear in your research itself, because I think those can be really different, because if somebody doesn't want to be on a youth advisory group, or it's not something that appeals to them, they're probably not going to enjoy being in that process or be the most help to you anyway, because if those skills aren't things that they're interested in doing or things that they're comfortable doing, then it's just going to end up with people being unhappy and not really wanting to be there, which isn't really helpful for either side. Whereas obviously once you're then doing more general research that is looking for people's opinions rather than people to be directing the methodology and coming up with ideas, then it's obviously very important then to be approaching a wide range of young people to get everybody's voices represented. But that can be a very different process from the youth advisory group itself.
I think it's okay for the researcher or the person leading co-production to learn with the young people, because even people that have done it before, so say Christina set up a new YAG, you'd have to learn it again because it's a new set of young people.
Such a good point, yeah.
And even from when you started, Emily, in December, I could be getting that wrong. So your relationship with the YAG has changed and grown, and you've learned from working with us. And that's not to say that when you start, there's anything, that there was anything wrong, that it's just that you have to tailor whatever your approach is to the specific set that you're working with.
So one of the things that I think is really important with positionality is this is going to sound really easy in theory, and I know it is more difficult in practice, is to just get rid of assumptions about the people that you're working with. I think a lot of the time when young people enter research spaces, there is an assumption of this monolithic kind of cis straight white young person experience, and it's really important that, like, every time you're working with a young person, even within a group, every individual is viewed as, you know, a fresh start, and you don't know what their experiences are, what their characteristics are, and that's something that kind of needs learned as you're working with them.
As long as you go into it with, I'm really excited about this research, I'm really excited with working with you.
Some of the tips that we kind of recommend, first of all, is keep asking how and where can we involve people, because I promise you we can give input in whatever aspect or area it is. Number two is value every young person's experiences. Everything that we go through will always sort of add to whatever the topic is that we're talking about. Don't make assumptions about how to make activities inclusive and accessible. Just ask. Keep young people in the loop. Update us on the project process and how our input has made a difference. And always bear in mind that young people have other things going on in their lives and cannot always be available. Keep it simple and be kind. And as you can see, a few of these, the kind of recurring theme in them is just communication and communicating with young people.